actually, but it hasn't quite uploaded to YouTube quite just yet. There it is. Fantastic. So the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 19 of the TransNation Esports America's Sunday Championship. It's time for the United States Grand Prix here at Circuit of the Americas, the 5.51 kilometer 20-turn racetrack. Is a bit of a meh circuit for me. In my experience as a commentator and as a driver, I've seen my fair share of decent and relatively boring races here. Some of the most unique features about the racetrack is the epically tall climb to the apex of turn 1. It's about 40.5 meters. It's quite a tall climb up to turn 1 and provides such a unique braking zone as well. So we should see some overtaking there, and of course overtaking at turn 12 as it comes after the second DRS zone here on the racetrack. But other than that, of course, the notorious first sector, which is absolutely horrible, and I sincerely mean that as well. It is a shocking first sector in this game. Penalties are an absolute pain in the bum through there for sure, but it will definitely be something that drivers will have to worry about during the race and here in qualifying as well. But alongside me, once again for tonight's race, is Michael Garone Jr. Michael, any thoughts coming into this United States Grand Prix?
Well, it's another one of the home races for the server, so yeah, obviously server mostly Americans, Canadians, so I'm sure we'll see some red, white, and blue designs from some of our American drivers tonight. But yeah, interesting track. Like you said, turn 1. Tricky braking zone, because it invites you, the uphill nature invites you to brake late, or later than you think you should. But you overstep that boundary and you totally miss that apex and costs you a lot of time. Yeah, penalties are tough. I must admit, this is not one of my favorite circuits. I think that there's far better circuits in the United States that F1 could potentially go to if they grabbed grade A licenses, but
yeah,
that's just me.
What would be one of your favorites as an American? What would you like to see host a Formula One Grand Prix?
Everybody always talks about Road America. It's a track that has not a lot of U.S. Circuits have a lot of length to them. Road America is one of those that has quite a decent track length to where the lap time would be too short. Good flowing track as well. Overtaking opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, it's just got it all. One of my favorite actual, I mean, U.S. is known for their ovals, but one of my favorite circuits, actual road courses, I guess you could call them, in the United States. I mean, I'd like to see a street race, street track somewhere. I mean, you already have Long Beach. I don't know what they would have to do to get a grade A license, but I think Long Beach would be great to see. Obviously, we've seen that before in real life F1, so you know, anywhere but here. I'm just glad we have a home race. We had that period after the Indianapolis breakup where there was nothing here for a few years, and love for the sport kind of died. And I think this track is partially responsible for that hype and love coming back to the U.S.
Well, that was its initial track's purpose, was to try and rekindle that relationship between the US and Formula One. Because you're absolutely right, after the 2005 US Grand Prix in Indianapolis, where only 6 cars competed, the relationship took a bit of a dip after that. And we used to have a lot of races in the US prior to that point. There was one season in 1982 where we had 3 races in the US in 1 year, where they raced at Long Beach, Detroit, and the Caesars Palace car park in Las Vegas, which is one of the most interesting racetracks ever in human history. You also have places like Watkins Glen that used to host Formula One races. a very fast-flowing, sort of old-fashioned racetrack that I reckon would be pretty interesting to see in these sort of modern F1 cars. But it's, in saying that, Circuit of the Americas is definitely not the worst racetrack on the calendar, but certainly not one of the best. But you're absolutely right. At least you have a race in the US. At the very, very least, you have a race in the US. Bit of an interesting location to have it, though. I mean, in Texas. And of all the places to have a Formula One Grand Prix, it's somewhere in the south. I always thought it'd be somewhere in the north.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere as well. I mean, it's if you drive, I guess, an hour in any direction, you'll find yourself in some kind of city.
Oh, okay.
I know the Austin area is not too far away, but yeah, if you look, it's actually kind of in the middle of nowhere. Surprisingly, I know Daniel Ricciardo loves coming to this race specifically every year because he loves the American culture, and I guess the culture of Texas, which, you know anything about people from Texas, there are some interesting people. Some good food, some really good food out there.
Oh, I would.
You got
that's the only
everything
reason
from
why I go to the
steakhouses.
south. They know how to cook food, man.
Yeah, you got some great steakhouses in Texas. A lot of good Tex-Mex food. Yeah, cool area. It's kind of very, very far away from where I live. See, about a 36-hour drive, I think.
Oh shit! Right.
Yeah,
So
kind of just goes to show how big this country is.
Hey, I have the same problems as well in Australia. It's going to take me about maybe 27 hours to get over to Melbourne from where I live, so it's going to take a day and a bit to get over there. But I can definitely say that at least your racetrack is better than my racetrack in Australia. Albert Park, in my opinion, is a shocking circuit for real life.
I like Albert Park.
For real life Formula One. I don't mind it in the game, but like the only reason I feel that Albert Park has any hype about it is because it's the first race of the season. It's really about it. I can't actually remember any decent races around there, properly decent races. That could be just me.
Yeah, I will say, I think for me in this circuit, the kind of what you said, but in reverse, I really do enjoy this race in real life. I think we've seen some really good racing here. The wide apexes kind of opens up good overtaking opportunities. But yeah, I think it's really the track limits on this game that ruins this track for me. Always having to drive on the edge. The track limits, never having the confidence to push.
Absolutely. Like we saw in a few years, we've had some pretty decent races in real. And of course, the location for what is currently Kimi Raikkonen's last Grand Prix victory, a victory that I certainly cheered about when I watched that live. I couldn't actually believe that Kimi won a bloody race around Kota, or just a race in general. After such a long time, to see him on the top step of the podium was definitely relieving. But hopefully here in the virtual world, we get to see a pretty decent race on offer here at Kota. But a great thing to see that I haven't seen in many other leagues, to be quite frank, is a full grid. I think that's absolutely fantastic to see that we have 20 drivers for tonight's race. Like, kudos to yourself and to all the other people who organised this championship to somehow get a full grid. Like, I've seen Pacific tiers where we get literally half. Like, I've done commentary for races that only have somewhere between 9 to 11 cars. And no, it's absolutely fantastic to see a full grid.
Yeah, I mean, we keep chugging along. We do have a couple reserves helping us out a little bit and filling up the grid, which we do thank them. Kind of taking time out of their nights to come and help us out, also get a little bit of practice for themselves. Also, some of them full-time reserves, and they're just keen to race and have some battles on track. So, yeah, definitely good to see. We actually do have 2 new brand new faces to the league. That's R19, better known as Marcus Torres, and then it's Eric, better known as Eric. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Galagos. We'll have to clarify on that one, but we could just call him Eric for now.
I might have to check the spelling on that one.
Yeah, I looked at it and I was like, all right, when we go on air, I'm gonna give my best shot at this.
But Marcus Flores, you said, for R19.
Marcus Torres.
Oh, Torres. I was going to say, we have two Floreses driving in the Haas's. That's quite an amazing coincidence. But Torres, okay. But no.
And yeah, for some of you pretty familiar with this division and this night, you're used to seeing that guy down in P4 up at the top of the leaderboard by quite a margin, but he's actually, after clinching his championship, has decided to turn off his racing line, so he's going full no assist now. So I think he's done it quite late in the week, so he's still adjusting a little bit. So we'll have to, it's going to shake things up. I think we still have to throw Honda in the mix, because he's not too far off of the top, and I think that's a pace deficit that he can make up in this last 7 minutes of quali, but I wouldn't say he's the definite favorite like we've seen for most of the season anymore.
Well, welcome to my world, Honda. This is what I do when I league race. I race with absolutely... It's difficult because you have to use sort of the environment around you as a means of trying to find your way around the racetrack to try and nail braking points, try and find apexes and that kind of thing. I have to say that out of all the racetracks to turn off racing line, this is probably one of the worst ones to do it at, because you kind of need it, particularly for that awkward first sector. With that racing line, I would think it would be incredibly difficult to get through that first sector competitively. I mean, you'd be able to nail it on the occasion, but without the racing line, you really have to try and feel your way through that first sector. So he's probably going to find that a bit difficult.
Stuart Leslie goes to the top.
Well, now we're getting towards the point, the end of qualifying. It's probably best that we do talk about it. And
yeah.
Right. Stuart Leslie, 1 minute 30.455. Our current pole sitter at the moment. Cameron, who is back after a couple races off. So has he repaired his or found a replacement for the brake pedal, or?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's repaired those. I think those things were beyond repair, but I do believe that he has gotten a new set of pedals. I guess that few weeks off were him waiting for them in the mail. Obviously, with the whole pandemic situation, it's a little tricky in terms of postage nowadays over here, so yeah, I guess he had to wait a little bit longer than he expected, but it's good to see him back. P2 in the championship is still alive for him. He's got some work to do. I think 70 points is the gap from him to Stuart Leslie. But yeah, anything can happen. He's shown how quick he is, and I think he's going to be licking his chops, specifically seeing Honda turning off the racing line and finding himself a little further back down the grid.
But now we're getting towards a stage where drivers are preparing for their final runs with about 4.5 minutes left in the session. I'm just riding on board with Sebastian Flores. I haven't taken her around a proper guide around this racetrack. He's coming towards turn 11. Now in the wet conditions, this is a pretty decent overtaking spot on the racetrack. But in the dry, it's probably best that you don't overtake there, as it... Well, actually, the DRS detection zone is actually before the braking point, so you might be able to get a job done there. That way you can get DRS on the following straight, try and pull away from the car you just overtook. But ideally, you use the DRS in the slipstream to try and get past coming into turn 12. He's coming through turns 13 and 14 now, into turn 15, where I've seen drivers really send it down the inside here, as the normal racing line requires you to go quite wide at the entry to turn 15. Around the triple right-hander, somewhat reminiscent of Turkey's turn 8, into turn 19, which has a very awkward sort of apex It's a bit blind, so without racing line it would be a bit difficult. Around the final corner, turn 20, crossing the line, there's a 1 minute 31.421, currently P7 overall. But, looking at the competitive times, we only have 3 seconds separating the entire field. I imagine Marino in 18th place has a bit more time that he could find. But,
yeah, I don't think that's a representative time right there. Oh, we have somebody around.
That's a Red Bull. I
think that was Rob. Yeah, would have been Rob Hadley.
Alright. In 20th place, yet to set a lap time. We'll see how he negotiates the first sector. You can see here, massive climb up towards turn 1, braking just before the white line that goes perpendicular to the racetrack. I find that's a good braking point for turn 1. Through turn 2, absolutely flat out in these conditions. Into turn 3, 4, turn 5, braking 7th gear, turn 6. Then into turn 7, that ends the first sector, does a 24.4. Then up the hill, through turn 8, into turn 9. This is where Sebastian's suspension gave way last year. Into turn 11, short shifting up into 4th gear, allowing himself to get on the throttle very, very quickly. DRS open. Then the long straightaway heading towards the blinding sun. Into turn 12. Hard on the brakes at the 50-meter board. 2nd gear. Short shifting to 4th like he did at turn 11. And into the 3rd sector. He apparently purple to the 2nd sector, but we'll have to wait and see. Around turn 15. Short shifting again to 4th gear. So 4th gear is obviously his magical gear. Has a lot of confidence short shifting and putting 100% throttle. The car not spinning out. Ooh.
Big mistake there.
Around the final corner. See how much that cost him. Oh, an even bigger one there. 31.1. So if he hadn't made those mistakes, he was on for a 30 for sure.
Yeah, I'd say he lost a good half a second just in those 2 mistakes.
It appears that Cameron is coming towards the end of his 2nd flying lap. There's a 1 minute 30.369. Goes to pole position for now, but there's still time left in the session. Stuart Leslie begins his final flying lap. He has to improve by a 1/10 of a second if he wants pole. Ethan Lossing in 3rd place, making his way through the 1st sector. Keeps in 6th gear through turn 6. He's down though in the 1st sector by 2/10 of a second. What about Stuart? What does his 1st sector look like? He's up by almost 2/10 of a second, so a massive improvement.
Sean jumped up to P3.
Sean Yarborough.
30.7.
Yes. What about Honda? Whereabouts is Honda? Honda's invalidated. And he won't be able to set
He's not going to get around to do another lap.
Oh. No, he's not. Surely not. 5, 4... No, he's not. He's pulling into the pits. He can't do anything. So what about Stuart? Coming around to the end of the 2nd sector, around turn 12 into 13. And he's up by 2/10 now, so he improved by 200ths in that 2nd sector. He's lining himself up for pole here. Sean's retired on the racetrack at the hairpin coming out of turn 11. Around the triple right-hander goes the Mercedes-Benz, taking it exit speed of 180 miles an hour. That is insanely fast. And invalidating!
Oh, he invalidates.
Oh, that is such a costly mistake. Oh, he'll be furious with himself as well. What about Matthew Earlier? He's up by 3/10, crossing the line. Jumps to P4. He lost time in the 3rd sector. Oh, Eric jumps up to P6 as well from 20th. Not a bad bit of qualifying from him. But that might just end qualifying here at the United States, and it's Cameron on pole. You would think from Stewart's time, those first 2 sectors, he was lining himself up for pole. But a critical error at the 2nd to last corner means he'll be starting 2nd on the grid.
Yeah, you'd really think if he just kept it together those final few corners, that was going to be him at the front of the field, but Yeah, that second to last corner, that's one of the real hot spots. I mean, there's a lot of points on this track where penalties are very easy to pick up, but that corner specifically, because the natural racing line kind of takes you right to that curb, and it wants to just push you wide naturally, and you kind of just have to fight it all the way through. And yeah, he was going for it and just carried that little bit too much speed, and yeah, kind of bit him right there.
But just looked at the chat just then. Sorry, Brett, we got a full grid, so you're not allowed in. Sorry, Ted. Ted Kravitz, our pit reporter, not allowed to come in, unfortunately. But that will end qualifying here at COTA, and it's Cameron who was on pole position by just under a tenth of a second, separating the top two. Ethan Lossing starting from third, Matthew Elliott in fourth place, a fine qualifying performance from him. The Ferrari is looking strong with Sean Yarborough and Eric starting P5 and P6, Joker in seventh, Andrew Honda in a somewhat alien 8th place for him after qualifying, 8/10 down on the pole sitter. Sebastian Flores at P9 and Preds rounding out the top 10. And all of them will be starting on the soft compound tyre as well. And that'll be interesting to see how that plays out during the race and what everyone outside the top 10 decides to do. Now, the strategy around here, is it a soft to medium strategy? I can't quite remember.
Yeah, you can do a soft to medium. I kind of favor the soft to hard here, just because the hard tire is actually quite decent around here, surprisingly. I like the hard because you could pit nice and early, get that the undercut is super powerful here. So you could get a huge undercut on people that are trying to stretch their softs to do a medium stint at the end. So yeah, we did a little practice race before this, our 7 o'clock time slot, and I did a soft to hard, and I quite like that strategy. So I think it's going to be close margins between the two. I think even a two-stop is viable if you're somebody who could
I have seen that.
Really pump out the laps and go quick enough throughout the whole race. The two-stop, you don't have to worry about tire wear at all. You just worry about
sending it
the best laps you can. I think the problem with that here, though, is because penalties are so easy to get, if you're pushing really, really hard for the entirety of the race, you're going to start picking up those warnings very easily. Obviously, the more you're conserving, the less likely you are to pick up those penalties. So, yeah, I think we'll see everybody try to do the one-stop. Somebody has to be audacious and do something crazy, I think. Maybe the two-stop.
And of course, yeah, if there's a safety car at any stage, I would just throw everything we're saying out the window. And we'll have to see how that plays into effect, if there is a safety car. And I just looked at the weather report from Stuart Leslie. It's clear for the whole day, so we don't have to worry about any sort of wet weather interference. So,
yeah, I'm sure these guys will be pretty happy about that.
Now, it's taking a fair while to load up onto the grid.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I'm pretty sure I did see the session counter. I could have been wrong, but I'm pretty sure I did see that counter at the top of the screen pop up, and I think it disappeared. But I guess we'll just have to wait for the drivers to choose their setups, I suppose. But see what the chat's up to. I meant the actual convox, sorry. Glitches with the counter, it doesn't show me. Oh. Uh-oh. We might have a glitched lobby here, which is absolutely fantastic. I did notice a few ticks popped up.
Yeah, I think there's something going on with the cars being... talking about in the Discord. And they're slowly going away.
And we're down to 3 loading symbols now. Not to worry. I suppose. We'll get onto the grid soon enough. But I guess we better talk about something in the meanwhile, I suppose. Well, we just had a race about 12 hours ago in real life Formula 1. Sergio Perez, his maiden victory in Formula 1 after almost a decade in the sport. When did he start? 2011, I think? Sergio?
It's 2011. Was it 2010? No, it was 2011.
2011, I think. With Sauber, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
To think after all this time he finally gets a win after Mercedes do the big brain pit stop, the 200 IQ pit stop, the Germany 2019 pit stop all over again. It was a superb drive from the Mexican, really, to come back after being punted off by Charles. To come from last to third was an astonishing feat. And then, of course, when the safety car came out after, was it Aitken, I think, lost the front wing? It was one of the Williams. I think it was Jack Aitken. Lost his front wing. Safety car came out, and then Mercedes did the greatest pit stop in Formula 1 history. Oh, Sebi's just left the session.
Yeah, I think Sebi was stuck, and he's taken one for the team and decided to...
He should be able to come back though, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he will be able to come back. He's just going to not be able to get back in the car until the start.
Oh, so the AI remains in control all the way up to when the red lights come on, does it? Even if he's able to join back. That's
usually the way it works. But yeah, awesome to see a new winner in F1. I don't know what the hell Mercedes did. I don't even know why they pit there. I don't really know what they were trying to cover off. I don't really understand.
According to Toto, when the radio call went out, they had some sort of malfunction with half of the garage. Like, half of them didn't get the message. So when they came out the pit, they had the wrong tyres for George. They had Bottas's tyres, George. And then the wheel gun just straight up didn't work. Or it was something to do with the tyre, because they put the mediums on Bottas's car, and they couldn't...
And they had to pull them back off.
Yeah, and put on the old hards, which dropped him all the way towards 8th place because of that. Because he had those old tyres. But then George fought his way up to 2nd, and then he got a puncture, a slow puncture, that they had to change, which demoted him to 9th, I think, in the end.
So unfortunate for him. I was sad to see what happened to him, but I mean, because of that, we got a Sergio Perez win, so...
The first win for a Mexican driver in 50 years. Literally. The only other Mexican driver to win a Grand Prix was Pedro Rodriguez, and his last win came at the 1970 Belgian Grand Prix. So it's been a long time coming for the country of Mexico, and it's finally come in 2020. And to think he might not even get a seat for next year. Formula One's amazing, isn't it? But now the drivers have done their formation lap, they're lining back up onto the grid. Everyone is starting on the soft compound tyre, bar 4 drivers, Justin Laprade and Dustin Howe in P11 and P12, starting on the mediums. Bojan and Rob Hadley in 14th and 15th, also starting on the medium compound. Everyone else is on the softs. We're all good to go here at COTA. The lights turn on. We'll have 5 red lights, and it's lights out. And away we go here at Circuit of the Americas, and Stuart Leslie gets a fantastic start. He has the inside line as well. It's 4 wide in the background heading into turn 1. Now a 3 wide goes P3, 4 and 5 sideways with Sean Yarborough. But here come the rest of the midfield making their way around turn 1. There's yellow flags being shown. Now into the high-speed S's. Some drivers going through side by side. That's a death sentence. If you go side by side, oh my word, that racing point. Cutting the racetrack, trying to rejoin safely. I think that was Bojan, I'm pretty sure. just going briefly off the racetrack, joining safely back on, not causing any incident. Joker looking down the inside of Yarborough at turn 11, getting to position. He's now into 5th place, and it seems that the driver who had that incident at the beginning was Justin Leprod. I see him now. He's in 20th place after qualifying, what was it, 11th place at the beginning. So he's obviously had some sort of spin.
I think he had a little moment on the exit of turn 1. Other than that, everybody's fared pretty well. Sebi tried to get back in his car and had that instant where it wouldn't let him, so he's going to have to leave and then come back again. So he's just going to lose valuable time here as these guys are eating up his AI. And he's back in now. Let's see if he can get in.
It might take a little while for him to actually join back into his car. I have seen that with the game. It does take a little while. Oh, yellow flags again. What's happened here? Oh, there's a Red Bull off the racetrack. That's Sieg Hang coming off the racetrack at turn 19. Justin's in. Pulls into the pit lane. Does he have wing damage? He must have wing damage. Probably go onto the hard tyre. No, those are red sidewalls. He's going onto the soft. With the hard tyres, do you think... Oh, safety car! Oh my word, what has happened?
Oh. Christopher.
Oh, he's lost it at the S's. Whereabouts? There is his car there in the background. Might be able to see it when Justin catches up. But this just might have saved Justin here. He'll be able to catch up to the back of the field on fresh soft tyres, so he'll be able to push. But an interesting incident to crash so early in the S's. I just wonder if he was side by side with someone and perhaps there was contact that sent him into the wall. Typically you lose it further on when the car's a bit more unstable. But,
yeah, I'm wondering if he was trying to make his way around the AI car of Sebi and had a little... sometimes that AI does some unpredictable stuff, so... kind of saved Sebastian as well before his AI totally threw away his race, because he's gotten back in now, so clean reset for him. Now I'm wondering if any of these guys are going to pit and go completely off strategy. Sean is.
Now what would be his goal? Put on the hard tyres, go to the end?
I mean, perhaps. No, he's going to go medium, so he's going to... So what I think he'll do is he'll do the mediums, stretch those as far as he can, and try doing soft run at the end.
Is a medium strategy viable?
Yeah, he might make me look stupid and just do a medium strategy, but if I were him right now, I'd stretch those mediums as far as I could.
Yep.
Maybe lap 20, and then the last 8 laps just give it everything on the soft.
What are these two? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, it's this again. It's Marcus and Matthew exchanging positions there. I wonder if they've got penalties next to their name. I'll have it. Actually, the penalty prompt hasn't come up for either driver, but I'll quickly check race director.
I think they've sorted it out. I wonder how Matty... I didn't see how Matty got that far back. But he's pretty out of position to where he usually is.
He's keeping that thing in 5th gear as well. He's saving a fair amount of fuel from the looks of things. Now the field is starting to catch up. Everyone trying to keep temperature in their tyres as well. So looking off this, only 4 drivers have made stops. Sean is one of them. Pred's also made a stop. What has he gone on to? Fresh soft tyres. Highway's done the same with Justin Leprod. But Justin got damage on the first lap, so he had to come in and get that replaced. And this safety car sort of saved his race a little bit here, allowing him to catch on to the back of the field. But, I'm kind of surprised that no one's gambled to go onto the hard tyre and try and go to the end. Perhaps maybe they don't feel confident they have enough speed to make it work. You do need to stay somewhat with the pack in order to get the biggest benefit out of the tyre. If you lag behind and have the cars in front of you on those fresher tyres just pull away, it effectively makes your hard strategy pretty much worthless. But
yeah, I would have been tempted to do it. These soft runners are going to be having a lot of trouble with fall off towards the end of the stint. These softs completely melt towards the end of the stint around here, so that in itself would have really kind of made me think about taking that chance and going on to the hards. Trouble is all this traffic. Sean's all the way back in P16. He's the first driver on fresh tires, but he
has to negotiate everyone in front.
Yeah. Cars that he should be quicker than, but you just got to get through cleanly.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that no one else took that chance. They're all just pretty happy to stay on the tyres that they're on and just do the extra stop on the green flag running. Unless, of course, there's another safety car, which is entirely possible. But I just noticed that Brett has decided to join us in the party. Hello, Brett.
Good afternoon, fellas.
How are you this fine day?
Oh, not too bad. Looks like an interesting propaganda with the race already. Safety car out pretty early. Yeah, not sure what to make of it. It looks like an interesting circumstance. Paul Sevi disconnected before the race even begins.
Was he able to rejoin successfully? Looks like it. He's got
so
the bars.
No X showing by his name, so he should be back in.
So the safety car is pulled away.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what Stu can do on this restart. Obviously, went into turn one, took a shot at coming through as the leader. Almost had it, couldn't hold it. So if he could get a better restart here, he might have another go.
Alrighty, so the leaders will make their way round towards the final corner. And there goes Cameron, he's bolted. I'm quite surprised how much Stewart sort of lagged behind Cameron there, coming around turns 19 and 20. He's lost a fair amount of time to Cameron in just those corners alone. What's happened here? I see yellow flags. Oh, it's Dustin out.
Dropped it coming out of the final corner. Cold tires, that final corner, that'll happen.
Sean is
I've been famous for that final corner. I've been barbecued there so many times it's not funny.
Sean, oh, contact between Preds and Sieg, and Sieg goes into the wall, and he's out of this race. I just saw that then, Preds and Sieg side by side through the S's. Just a little bit of contact, it wasn't a lot, but it was just enough to send Sieg right into the tyre barrier, into the S's. So that's our second retirement. Ooh, oh, what is Marino doing? My word. Just blocking Sean there at turn 11.
Yeah, Michael, I'll get you to reflip me an invite. When you sent me the first one, it turned out that Christopher hadn't left the session yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh my word, dear me, there's some action going on at the safety car restart.
Yeah, I was just having a look at that, just had a quick look at that incident with the Ferrari and TJ. I'm not sure if Sean was aware that TJ was braking a little bit earlier than usual.
I think Marino's intentions were to get out of the way, actually. And Sean kind of found himself in a bad spot. And it cost him a place to Pred, so he's gonna have to redo some of the work he already did. Let's see, Honda's made his way up to third. So, as I said, no racing line, but he's no slouch.
Yeah, I was just about to say that I must have overheard that he had turned his racing line off. Is that continual? Is that going to be running through nationals as well, or is it just regionals?
I don't know, maybe just regionals, but yeah, a little slower in qualifying than usual, but it looks like he's still pretty competitive in race trim.
He's keeping up with the current leaders of Cameron and Stewart. Gap between the top two, 0.8 of a second, and the gap between P2 to P3 also 0.8. In fact, the entire top four all in a nice little group here, with Joker wanting to join the battle. Same as Ray Con just in behind in P6. There are already a few drivers have gotten penalties. Raid and Eric, both of them on 3 seconds apiece, already 6 laps in, and 3 of those weren't even under green flag racing, so penalties are definitely going to play a part.
Giving Rob Hadley a bit of a hurry up.
Just in behind in P10, sector 3 yellows. What's happened here?
Oh, we've got a crash.
Oh, hello.
It was 3-way
Highway
crash.
and Justin.
No, that was
Maybe
Justin.
TJ was just there at the wrong time.
Yeah, it was between the McLaren of Highway and the racing point of Justin the Fraud. Not quite sure what happened between these two, but in goes Highway into the pit lane.
That was a bit... It was almost like a bit of retaliation there from Highway.
Oh, side by side for the yeses. Rob and Seb, this isn't going to end well, but somehow it does. Oh
Sebby
dear.
finds his way through.
I don't like it when drivers go side by side through there because it never ends well.
So next on the agenda for Sebastian is Big Spoon. That's an inside joke for people wondering.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like I don't even know how Matty's found his way as far back as he did, but he's stuck behind all these guys. And it doesn't look like he can really just... I think he's going to have to work for these spots.
So the new guy, R19, I think just made a move on Daniel Hernandez, or maybe the other way around. They were trying.
They were scrapping it out for 5th place. And I think it was Raid making the move on Daniel, I believe. He's now into 5th place.
Honda's right up the arse on Stuart Leslie, so...
Oh, now the other racing points had a moment.
Bojan. Oh, be careful on the rejoin.
Now he's with his teammate as Honda's made a move on Leslie as well.
Dusted.
Here he comes. You know, these top guys must be feeling really upset right now, thinking, okay, I'm going to have a good shot to win this race now. With Honda turning off the racing line, he might struggle a little bit, and he's still out there doing his thing.
Well, it's pretty much been said, like with when people were complaining about Andrew Lee being on the pad all the time, saying, "Oh, if you got off the pad, we'd be able to beat you," and then he jumps on the pad, and now he's completely unbeatable.
Well, he is national karting, a state karting champion, not national karting champion, state karting champion. So he knows how to operate a wheel. So he'd be more in his element, I would think, with a sing rig than what he would be with a pad. So. And he's more than proved that, not just in Formula 1, but also in GT Sport as well. He's an absolute freak on that game.
Yeah, well, we're kind of hoping that when he moves to iRacing, he isn't that competitive.
You'd pray.
Well, you know he will be. You know he will be.
We pray, but we know we've got our work cut out.
It's like praying when Lewis Hamilton races, just praying he doesn't win, but you just know that he will. You know.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, I suppose that is a little bit true.
We'll pray for it, but you just know in the back of your mind it's gonna happen. So
yeah, there's some people that you look at how good they are and you say, all right, it doesn't matter what sim, if they're in real life, this guy can drive, and Andrew's definitely one of those people. So I don't think you could be. Yeah, he may struggle a little bit. I think, Brett, you should get on that PC as quick as you can and enjoy being quicker than him for a little bit before he starts really putting in some time.
Yeah.
But I think once he puts in some time, he'll be one of the guys towards the front.
Set the 2 yellow flags. That's Leslie. He's spun.
Yeah,
Oh, Stu.
Ooh, that's big damage too. So I did notice that. I just had noticed that Ethan was P3, and I thought, oh, that's a bit unusual. What's happened to Stu? And then
Yeah, I saw the first thing that caught my eye was the yellow flag prompt that came up. I noticed a stationary Mercedes on the minimap. And there we go. And he has to get that replaced. There's
Eric
no way he can fight with that.
Daniel are going to have a little scrap.
Eric, right in behind Daniel, heading through the third sector. Might have a crack. No, he won't. I thought he would have a crack there. At turn... oh dear, what's going on here?
What's going on there? Just a local.
Through the third sector.
I will tell you one thing though. Talking about hairy moments, I had one yesterday at the Nationals, navigating around 3 cars that heading off at turn 1 Mexico. Slid through the middle of them as they were all having spins. Oh, contact between Stewart and Preds.
Uh-oh.
Stu was going into the pits and Preds tried to go for the inside.
Oh dear. No,
And now
that's
Preds
always
has
a
got
bit
front
awkward.
wing damage.
It's always a bit awkward when something like that happens. Trying to get into the pit lane.
Yeah, Stu was a little late on the decision. I think he was almost kind of contemplating not wanting to come in straight away.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know
Or
if there was ever a
perhaps trying
decision
to sort
there.
of open up the pit entry as much as he possibly could. That way he can carry as much speed into the pit lane that he could. But
I think he was just really
penalty.
struggling to get the car around in the state that it was. But
could do
Could
as
have
well.
changed for a lead here.
Cameron and Honda, P1 and P2, making their way through the third sector. Now Honda has got about one opportunity through here. It's an awkward opportunity here at turn 15. He doesn't go for it. Probably a wise thing. He'll probably wait till the pit straight, try and get a good exit out of the final corner and try and attack for the lead. Cameron opens up the margin just a little bit into turn 19 as Cameron... Oh, that's it. Really? Oh, both of them
both
going
in.
into the pits.
So it's battle of the pits. Oh god, how did Honda get away with not getting a penalty for that?
I have absolutely no idea. I did the same thing in a league
I have
race.
seen instances where drivers have cut through there and then given 5 seconds for practically cutting the track, and then the
we got a
stewards
yellow
have...
flag.
It's Eric.
It's
on,
Eric.
on fresh hard tyres.
No way. Oh god, I thought Andrew had actually jumped Cam in the pits.
Yeah, so Cam and
And
Honda do the
Justin!
hard.
I just saw a glimpse of that. I switched back as quickly as I could. He spun at the final corner. His race goes from bad to
let this
worse.
traffic by.
He just flicks it in reverse, throws it
That
on the
was an
track.
angry reverse right there. He destroys the DRS board while he's not happy. That was an angry reverse right there. I could tell. That was not a happy reverse.
I can tell you this much. My second race, when I first turned off no assist, was here at the Circuit of the Americas, and I tell you, it was one of the most frustrating races I've ever had. In terms of getting used to no assist, the car just wouldn't settle. It would spin off in the slow corners. It was horrible. And given that he's on no assist, it would be just horrendous.
Yeah, I picked the nicest circuit to turn off all assists. Mine was Catalunya, and for about 2/3 of the racetrack, it's pretty decent. The opening 2 sectors are pretty good, but the third sector was a bit shocking because every time you go into the chicane, as soon as you apply any sort of brake pressure, it would instantly lock up. So it was quite
Japan
annoying.
was my race. Oops.
Oh dear. But,
And our top 3, oh no, Sebi comes in. So our top 2 continue to stay out. I'm a little bit surprised by this. I don't know if maybe they're banking on a... I guess we're talking over each other.
Sector 3, that's Raiders? Yeah, that's Raiders. Or he can't go too far backwards. Or here comes his teammate.
No.
Dear, oh dear. Bojan, a 3-second time penalty as well, just briefly. But Sean Yarborough also finds himself in this battle between Cameron and Honda. Both of them are electing to go onto the hard compound tyre, so they're planning to go to the end of the race on those. As Christopher has just left the session just then. After his accident early on. Cameron looking down the inside. Oh, he definitely thought about it there. At turn 11, Sean gives him plenty of room to negotiate the corner. And Matthew looking like to
might be able
attack.
to take advantage. And Matt's around Daniel.
Oh, not quite.
And
Down the inside, through turn 14 into 15. Now, Matthew can send it here, but he pulls out.
And Honda. Oh, Honda and Sean. Honda gets it done. So Honda made it around Cam and Sean right there.
I guess with Cameron's awkward line through turn 11, Honda was able to get a better exit and probably get better top speed heading into turn 12. He probably got the job done there. Then he caught up to Sean as well, who probably didn't have DRS. Now they're onto the back of Rob Hadley in P3. Matthew made his pit stop. He's on medium compound tyres. Now, will he be trying to go to the end on those?
Yeah, I think 15 laps easily. He'll go to the end. I think maybe a little bit of management required towards the end of the race. Maybe he'll do it early on and then save some of that towards the end. But I think for sure he will carry that set to the end. Sebi's on the soft, so I guess he's committed to a 2-stop.
Sector 2 yellow
flag. We've got a yellow flag. That's Rob and Cam.
Oh my word. I didn't see the Renault. I see him now though. Or onto the racetrack. There's his teammate. He gets by. Here comes Seb. Seb's going to have a go down the inside here into turn 11. A fairly straightforward move here for the Haas driver. And that's so unfortunate for Cam. All the way down now in 6th place. Same with Rob. All the way down in 9th place on old medium tyres. Sector 1 yellows. That's Marino, I believe. Just causing a brief yellow flag.
I don't know if that was for anything.
Oh, spin! Sean spun! Oh dear! That's at turn 15 as well.
No.
And he's gone a long, long way into the grass.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky rejoin. He might pick up a penalty. No, looks like he doesn't.
Very lucky. Knowing the game and how it applies penalties, I wouldn't have been at all surprised if it did. But fortunately,
Cam's going to have to pit again.
Joker. He's made... Oh, it's going to be a double... Oh, pretty much a double stack for Renault. So Cameron's going to have a slightly compromised stop here. Yep, here we go. Still waiting. Changes tyres. Gets a front wing change. He's losing time. Into the pits goes Bojan. And I believe that's Sean coming in as well. Doing a pit stop to get off the medium tyres that would be absolutely shredded when he toured the grass. Preds has a lot of momentum. He's now on the back of Sean. He wants to try and snag some points here, so I imagine he'll try and attack the Ferrari driver as much as he can. Rest of the field though, Ethan and Honda having a scrap for the lead of the race.
Ethan's going to take this.
Oh, tight racing between the two. Absolutely.
Ethan ends up in front, and I think for Honda he's going to be alright and have good pace relative to guys around him as long as he stays behind them. I think at any point if he ends up in a world of his own he might struggle a little bit. Obviously if you have that reference car around you, you could just brake based off of them. Take lines based off of them. If you're out by yourself, all you got is your own knowledge. So
your own intuition.
This might not even be the worst thing in the world for him to be behind Ethan.
And also Ethan on those fresh, well actually equally as fresh, but medium compound tyres. So he should be quicker in this sort of opening couple of laps on this second stint of his. But after a while, I imagine those medium tyres will start to drop off a little bit, and that might bring Honda back into it, so long as Honda can keep up with Ethan across the course of this stint. Marino getting a 3-second time penalty. A lot of drivers having penalties here. It is to be expected. And also, Marcus in P3. The Haas driver is in third, and he can go to the end, I believe.
Yeah, I believe he'll go to the end. Yeah, really good showing for a debut. Eric looked pretty good as well. Had that spin, put him back a little bit, but he's still within a good chance of a good result on his first go here in the league. So that's really great to see. And I'm not even going to say anything. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to curse it.
Oh, Bojan,
I'm just not even going to say anything in reference until we get to the end.
Oh, okay, so I just found out from Christopher that the reason that he crashed out was actually because of Steve's AI. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, Cameron and Bojan having an incident at turn 12. Bojan trying to send it down the inside. He really didn't have any right to the corner. Cameron trying to take the apex and he just smashes into his side pod. Oh dear.
Yeah, and I've also switched to phone app because I keep net typing on Michael.
Oh, right. Oh, it's
I kind of figured when we saw that incident with Christopher, I kind of figured it had to do with Sebi's AI. Obviously, not anything that was Seb's fault. So you can't really do much about it. Just one of those unfortunate things.
But Bojan goes into the pits to get that front wing replaced. Raiders now the next driver to get a penalty next to his name. Almost everyone has got one at this stage.
So I must have missed something here with Cam. Why he's suddenly so far back?
Him and Rob Hadley.
Rob had an incident.
At turn 9. I'm not sure if they're connected, but they both went off at the same corner at the same time, so both drivers lost a fair amount of time. Bojan, a 5-second penalty, crossing the pit lane exit white line. But yeah, it's disappointing for Cam. He looked very, very quick.
And Ethan again finds himself in the lead of a race, though with penalties at play, needs to kind of hustle.
Yeah, on 6 seconds worth, Honda has the upper hand at this stage. Oh, what's happened here? Joker's retired.
Oh, Daniel.
Now, has he retired in the pits? No, he's crashed.
No, he's crashed.
That's on track.
Final corner.
My word. Virtual safety car.
We got a VSC.
Interesting.
We'll take a gamble here and jump on a first set of softs.
Sean isn't. Or that Cameron? He isn't. Rob's benefiting massively with this. He's going to come out in front of Sean here. On soft tyres too. So he's going to be properly quick. And he doesn't have any penalties to worry about either. Never mind!
Holy speed. Oh no.
Oh, far out.
The
Say hi
curse
to
is
the
alive.
commentator's curse, everyone. Man. Has absolutely no penalties to worry about. Proceeds to speed under virtual safety car. Oh no.
The exit, I suppose with the exit of the pit lane, because of the way you don't get the delta until you've actually come off the pit lane itself. So I would say as soon as he's gone, because the pit exit of America is basically on the verge of the hill, so my guess would be that as soon as he's gone up there, he's well over his delta.
Not only that, but the delta dramatically drops in the corners as well. So you could see there, he almost came to a complete standstill to try and get rid of the delta. But so yeah, with both of those things combined, I'd imagine that's the reason why he got the drive-through. It's seriously unfortunate, really, but he has to serve a drive-through now, otherwise he'll be disqualified from the race. Luckily the field is somewhat spread out, so position-wise he won't lose too many, but he'll definitely fall outside of the points now, so that's unfortunate, that's really unfortunate. And in he comes, so that drive-through. Nice and easy into the pits. Hopefully for his sake there'll be a safety car that comes out at some stage.
Judging by this, he'll come out behind Preds because it's pretty safe from Black Raiders.
So he might be able to scrap his way back up to 10th place, so he might be able to score at least something, hopefully. But we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, anything else happening? We've got Sebi catching... Oh,
we've got a yellow flag. That's a Haas.
Marino? I think that was the Alfa Romeo.
I think that was an Alfa Romeo. He may have been letting somebody
cars
through.
But Sebastian, he's only made so far, hasn't he? Seb.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sebi's got a pit.
This lap, next lap, maybe?
I think you'd want to come very soon.
Or maybe he wants to overtake his big spoon first. Oh, careful.
Yeah, overtake and not crash out into the wall. Oh dear. Sorry.
Oh, look at the straight line speed on that Haas though. Almost made the gap straight back up.
Yeah, I think he's doing a really good job of just staying within Matty's DRS, and he's kind of allowing Matt to just tow him around.
Matt as well.
Stewart gets a little out of shape on the exit of 1.
Yeah, his gear ratio going through the S's is so sporadic.
He turns 10. He drops out of DRS range. I don't think he'll get it here. I'll have a look.
Yeah,
I think he was actually a couple of thousandths out.
I think this lap he's going to be coming in. He's still got to use a medium set, so you want to make use of those. Just under 10 laps. He could give it everything on that set. He won't have to worry about any tire wear issues.
Well, he's got a pretty decent gap to Stuart Leslie, who's actually getting under attack here from Eric, I believe. So he could almost try and prolong his tyres. 16 laps.
Yeah, but he's not used the medium set yet, so he's got a pit.
He has to box, regardless. But right now, Sebi, if he pits, he'll be somewhere near Sean, I reckon, and here he comes. Go onto a set of medium tyres to go to the end of the race. Almost speeds in the pit lane. Dear me.
Probably nothing left on those tyres. Cameron's coming under, is applying some pressure on Sean Yarborough for 8th.
Let's see, actually, Sebi will come out well in front of Sean. There we go.
God. How's this for consistency on the nature, even with a moment? The top 3 is going to be Andrew, Matt, and Stu again.
I mean, again, I'm not going to say anything and curse it, but that Haas driver, I think he's in good position here. He's got some work to do, but it's possible. It's definitely possible.
If these two scrap too much, we might have a different story.
No, not that Haas, the other Haas. I'm not going to say his name.
Well, you should be saying his Stu's name as much as humanly possible, given he was trying to put the mocker on you at Japan.
Yeah, maybe I should. I know Stu used to listen to us every week. I don't know if he still is, but...
I can say he probably is. Seeing as he did leave a comment on what the weather's like, unless he turned off the stream.
Maybe he just does that and then turns it off.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I know him, Matty, and Sebi all party up every week for the race, so I'm sure there's some conversation going on right now between the 3 of them. Who's gonna stack out where, but it's Sean and Cam.
Through the triple right-hander, Cameron has the inside line. Cameron gets a 3-second penalty. He did a Max Verstappen.
He did. I was just about to say, he was a bit,
on a Ferrari as well, which is fitting. And
Cam nearly understeered into him as well.
Sean now into 8th place, but I'm sure Cameron's not going to give this up, even though he does have a time penalty. Actually, 9 seconds worth of penalties, dearie me.
Rob Hedrick gets another one. Well, actually, no,
that's his first. Meaning only 2 drivers are yet to get a penalty in this race. Like Sean and Matthew in P4. That's it.
Oh, let's have a look at the race director and see how many warnings both of them have.
Do have some battles going on in the background. We got a three-way fight for 12th place between Raiders, Bojan and Dustin Howe, who's managed to recover up a few positions. Oh, down the inside, Bojan. Oh, so contact! Oh dear. Bit of contact there just after the apex of turn 1, resulting in Black Raiders being spun around there. Sort of a side-by-side contact, kind of, like almost perfectly side-by-side. Black Raiders just get spun around there. But, elsewhere in the field, we do have the battle for 8th place, which ultimately will go to Sean due to his no penalty situation at the moment. There's still plenty of laps left in the race.
Is on 2 warnings. Matthew is on 1.
Oh, I'm actually doing a good job then. Because with Sean, he knows he's got 2 warnings, so he's driving on the edge at the moment. And he's probably being a bit cautious, trying not to get that 3rd warning. So, but at least with Matthew, he knows he's got 1 warning in his back pocket that he can use if he makes a mistake.
A token, you'd call it?
Yeah, basically. So he will have that in the back of his mind, something that he can use to his advantage. And at the moment, he's perfectly placed to take 3rd at the moment.
Oops, we missed a change for the lead.
Yeah, Honda overtook Ethan about a lap prior, I think exactly a lap prior, around the outside of turn 12 using DRS to his advantage. And I imagine that those medium tyres are starting to wear a little bit as well, so Ethan might be losing just a little bit of speed now. Those wearing tyres.
This was the point where I was talking about, I think during qualifying, that those mediums do kind of fall off a little bit, and it's kind of just a little bit more beneficial to be on the hards towards the end of the race. So I think we're seeing some of that. I think also lap by lap Honda gets a little bit more comfortable, knows what limits he could push, what lines he wants to take. So
Justin LeBron's having a look here on highway.
Justin side by side should get the position quite easily.
It's a revving glitch.
Beautiful traction out of the hairpin.
Now his next target is Raiders. What's Justin's penalty situation? Oh dear, 9 seconds worth. Not exactly the most ideal situation to be in.
Prince and Bojan with 12 and 11. Not the worst we've seen. What was it yesterday, Michael, for us in the Nationals at Mexico? It was 24, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've seen a couple drivers hit the 20s.
In fairness, that's Mexico in a nutshell. It's basically this track but worse.
Yeah.
You know, you've got.
I really like how you summed it up there.
Well, how much did you get in your national race, Michael?
I got 9, and I could have gotten a lot less if I was just a bit more careful. Kind of got my own head.
Yeah, I was a little the same. I was 15. I was quite courteous. Oh, the fraud. Just hold my breath there. Yeah, I didn't have any warnings, penalties up until about like 18, and then they just started flying.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have similar experience on this game, that a lot of warnings I get are kind of just more lapse in concentration than anything. Like, I know where the limits are, and I know what's going to give me a warning, and I just kind of, every once in a while you'll have that point where you just, even though you can't push that limit, you push the limit, and you're like, all right, well, let's not do it again.
Yeah.
I think you start to get in your own head a little bit once they start to stack up. I found if I make it about halfway through the race without an actual 3 seconds worth, I'm usually pretty good to not pick up any, because I'm feeling confident about myself. But if I pick up that early 1 or that early 2, it kind of starts to derail for me personally. So.
I don't know if you guys noticed that while Michael was talking, but I saw a McLaren, which would have been highway, almost getting into a half spin, and then when I realised why, it was actually Honda. Honda had nearly spun him while trying to put a lap on him.
I did see the sort of offline McLaren. I didn't quite understand why he was offline, but there you go.
Yeah, so...
the two leaders very, very quick at the moment, and who's this? Is this Black Raiders just sort of impeding in between the Williams and the McLaren at the front of the field? Just a little bit.
We saw that in... What day was that when Black Raiders... was it Black Raiders?
Was it Suzuka? Or...
No, it was in Singapore. When it was... Yeah, it would have been Black Raiders. It was being very difficult to all the...
Oh, that's right. It was Singapore. I do remember now. Honda gets a 3-second time penalty. Now, that increases his tally to 6, with Ethan on 9. And, so Honda still has the upper hand. Matthew in a nice position here. Nice and in behind the Haas in front. He has no penalties to his name as well. Be able to use DRS here, close in on the Haas. Will he be close enough to attack though? He is using a fair amount of overtake, try and close in, but he's not quite close enough to launch an attack quite just yet. Probably have to be a bit patient, maybe wait for the next lap to come round to properly launch an attack. The rest of the field though, pretty spread out. We do have a battle for 14th going on. They're going around the triple right-hander Raiders, Justin Laporte and Highway, making their way towards pit straight now.
And poor TJ Marino, 34 seconds back, holding on to that wooden spoon.
At least he's still in it, I suppose. He's not going to finish dead last. Fortunately, that goes to his teammate who got caught up with Sebastian's AI. What's this? Sector 1 yellows. Oh,
yellow
no.
flag.
That's Raiders. Oh, hello, leaders. How you doing? Ooh. That would have been interesting to see, a Mercedes-Benz perpendicular to the racetrack on the racing line. Something a little bit different.
I think it's more weirder that the second one is about to come in. Well, he actually gets out of the way this time.
Sector 3 yellow flags, just a local yellow, so I'm just going a bit slowly. Closing in on 2 and a bit laps to go. Honda's now broken out of the tow, well, broken out of the 1 second range from Ethan Lossing. So Ethan's chance for an outright victory is a bit gone at this stage, unless Honda managed to get 2 penalties in quite quick succession. But, battles on for 3rd place as well. Ultimately it's settled between Marcus and Matt. I'm sure Matt would like to get this on track.
Well, Matt would need to kind of get a move on, because if he could get past Rad and then build up up to a 12-second cushion, and then Ethan happens to get another penalty, and Matt could actually legitimately move up to 2nd.
See what he'll do here. He's got DRS, he uses overtake. Marcus doesn't. Will leave himself vulnerable here into turn 1. Matt shows his nose. Marcus gives him room.
Oh, probably a bit too late there for a move.
And look at the amount of time he's lost through turn 2 into turn 3. He has to put up with the dirty air through here. Car a bit squirrely. Keeps it under control. Through the 1st sector into turn 8 and into turn 9. Gap steadily increasing up towards 0.8 of a second, heading towards turn 11. Hard on the brakes here. Try and gain as much time as he can. Gap. Let's have a look. 0.6 of a second at the exit. He might be close enough to have a go into 12. He doesn't have a lot of resources to play with though. Running low on ERS, using a bit of DRS. Will he have a look? He shows the nose again, but goes back in behind the Haas. So the battle's genuinely on between these two.
I think if you're Matt, you don't want to take any risks here. You got a great gap to the guy behind you. and you got two reserves in front of you,
and that's 12 seconds now for Ethan, and he's lost the time. Look at the amount of time he's lost to Honda as he begins the final lap. So unfortunately, I don't quite think Matt's in a position to attack Marcus here. Oh, he's got a run though.
Who's gonna get a penalty?
Down the inside into turn 1. They both give each other space. Heading towards turn 2, and Matthew gets the position. Now, if he can somehow magically gain 2.5 seconds on Ethan, he might be able to get second place outright. But he's pretty much guaranteed second place in the adjusted standings once all the reserves are taken out. So it's been a fantastic drive from Matthew. The rest of the field seems pretty much sorted at this stage. No one really in the battle at the moment. But we all thought that with Honda, without his racing line, would struggle just a little bit during this race. As it turns out,
I mean, in all intents and purposes, it is kind of a different division. Put him in the Monday and see how he fares there.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But for today, at least, he takes the checkered flag and wins the United States Grand Prix. And far out. Ethan crosses the line in second place. Matthew Elliott, with no penalties next to his name, a clean drive, will cross the line in third. He will stand on the podium. A very fine drive indeed. Marcus, on debut, finishes in 4th place, a superb performance there from the debutant. Stuart Leslie in 5th place, with Eric in 6th. Both debutants, a fantastic performance in their first race in this tier, with a 4th and 6th place finish. Sebastian recovering to 7th after dropping out earlier in the race, losing time in 2 positions. Sean in 8th.
Got Cam on penalties. Cam will be disappointed with that one.
100% for sure. To what happened in that sort of mid-phase of the race, with him getting caught up with the incident with Stewart at turn 9.
It looks like to me that Black Raiders might be going for the fastest lap.
Is he capable of taking that? I wonder. Let's have a look. Fastest lap time, 1 minute 34.3. I'll bring up the lap data. And nope, he's at 1 minute 50 at the moment. Through the
yeah, I think he just came into the pits to take those tyres. So yeah,
must have.
He'll bring it up the rear, but.
But there we go. The end to the US Grand Prix, and it's another victory to Andrew Honda. Fair enough.
Female avatar.
Why not?
Don't see it too often.
No. Why not?
Oh, he hasn't changed it up.
Another victory next to this man's name.
Maybe he wasn't expecting to win.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Well, a fine performance regardless. Even better with the fact that he's done it with genuinely no assists. Ethan Lossing finishing in an outright 2nd, and Matthew Elliott on the podium in 3rd. But of course, when the revised finishing order comes in, he will finish in 2nd, which will mean Stuart Leslie finishes 3rd, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Or is Marcus counted in the overall points? I'm not actually sure.
I believe Marcus is a reserve.
Yeah, as a reserve, he wouldn't. So.
I think he actually signed up as just wanting to be a reserve.
Okay, so it will be Stuart Leslie in 3rd place then. Eric, a fine performance as well as a reserve.
So that would actually technically put Sebastian Flores P4
in 4th place. Yep. Absolutely. with Sean Yarborough in 5th, Cameron in 6th, Rob Hadley in 7th, Preds in 8th, Bojan in 9th, and Dustin Howe rounding out the top 10, meaning that Justin Lepore just missed out on the revised sort of points. But yeah, not a bad race at all. Fantastic to see the full grid, plenty of action up and down the field, and a win for Andrew Honda, showing his talent, racing with absolutely no racing line for the first time, I imagine, in his league racing career, and performing well. So, who's that who just joined the party? We have Stuart who just joined. Who else has just joined?
Matthew.
Ah, yes. Fantastic. So we got P2 and P3. Fantastic. We'll probably start with 3rd place, then we'll make our way up. We'll start off with you, Mr. Leslie. A fine qualifying performance from you to qualify 2nd, though I know you'd be a little bit disappointed with that because we were watching the sector splits in the 1st and 2nd sectors, and it was looking like you would get pole, and an unfortunate error at the 2nd to last corner. And of course your race with that unfortunate incident at the midway phase, I believe that you might have been involved with Cameron, but I'm not 100% certain. But just take us through your qualifying and your race here at COTA.
Yeah, it was an interesting go of it, I suppose. Qualifying, I wasn't expecting to necessarily have quite that pace. I thought my pace was relatively good, but didn't quite think I was going to be up there contending for a pole. I was a little bit gutted with the way that qualifying worked out. Yeah, as you said, I had a really good lap going there at the end, and it was a mistake earlier in sector 3. It wasn't the 2nd to last corner that ended up costing me it. I was already down at that point. So I had a moment, I believe, early on in sector 3, and I think that's where it cost me all my time. But still, I was bummed about that. But I knew going into the race, I was pretty happy with I was really happy with where my race pace was sitting. I think. Starting the race on those softs and getting the early safety car, I knew without a doubt it was a one-stop strategy for me. I was already thinking that going in. I was confident in how I could pull the softs, and then I really liked my pace on the mediums actually. But yeah, unfortunately there, I don't remember what lap it was, lap 8 or 9 I think it was. Just had a moment coming out of I don't even remember what corner, like after the S's and all that, kind of going down the hill into sector 2, and I just had a moment, and I'm gonna have to go back and look at my stream to see exactly what happened, because I'm not really sure. It's a spot where usually you can get tank slappers a fair bit there, but I don't know, those softs on that first stint just didn't feel anything, especially after that safety car, what I was kind of expecting them to feel like, and it caught me out. But I mean, I was actually surprised that I was able to hold a bit of pace coming back into the pits, and was able to slap on the mediums, which I was confident again in my pace on the mediums, and that I would be able to get those to the end. From there, I mean, had a pretty good little battle there with Eric. Actually, Eric, he's the newest driver, but as fresh of a driver into the U.S. Regional as you can get. He literally joined about 20 minutes before the session got underway, so it was fun to race with him, and I think hopefully he'll be able to get into a full-time seat for next year, because I think he's got some solid pace behind him. But had a good little battle with him, was finally able to break him from the DRS, and then from there it was kind of just cruise control, make sure I took care of my tires and got them to the end. But a little bit worried about Seb there at the end. I saw that he came in for that pit stop, and I know he was catching me a little bit, and and I was worried that he was really going to hunt me down. But a great race. I'm gutted because I feel like I don't think I had the pace to compete with Honda, but I felt like I could have hung with Ethan, and but I mean to come back and get P3. I'm not P3 after everything's said and done. Not complaining, but a big congrats, of course, to Honda, and a great run there for Matty. No penalties as well for him. I saw it's not easy to do around here, and then also I'll give a shout out to Seb. Seb had a really good race. I know he's happy with that result.
I would be too if I had to disconnect at the beginning of a race and let the AI do the driving at the start. So yeah, absolutely, a fantastic recovery for Seb. Michael, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll ask about, as you just mentioned with Seb. So yeah, I kind of teased it a few times as we were watching the race play out, and watching it in the back of my head, thinking, okay, maybe he has kind of a chance here, depending on what he does on this last stint. But was there ever a point where you thought he would be quick enough to run you down? I mean, that would have been huge for him. Obviously one of the boys, for him to get his first podium. But was there ever a glimmer where you were worried?
I really did. Right after when he came out of his pit stop, and because you can see two positions behind you on of course, in the little tracker thing. So I could see that he was about, I don't remember, 8 seconds or so behind me, maybe 9 seconds. And I thought, he's got. At first, I thought he came out on the softs, and I think but he couldn't have because he had already done a double soft stint. But I thought that, I think I was sitting at 2 warnings at that point for the second penalty. I thought, I'm probably going to get this extra penalty. And Seb was catching. He was pretty consistently catching me by a couple tenths a lap. Just towards the end, I think he might have had a bit of a moment, but I was concerned because he had good pace here today, and I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to sort of improve that pace that he's shown here as he gets more and more used to the no assists. But we'll have some good battles, I'm sure.
No, that was a very, very solid drive and a fantastic recovery after what happened in the race to you at the end of the yeses, to recover back to finish, I think it was 5th overall and 3rd with the adjusted standing. So a very, very solid performance from you, Stuart. Well done on the podium.
Thank you.
We'll move on to 2nd place, and a superb drive from you, Matthew. No penalties whatsoever. You were 3rd overall as well. So finishing outright on the podium, but with a 2nd place finish with the adjusted standings is absolutely superb. Just take us through what happened in qualifying and take us through your race here at Circuit of the Americas.
Qualifying went rather well, I thought. I performed better than I thought. I got P4 out of it all. I think I set that my first run, and I just couldn't connect anything after that. I'd be up and then I'd invalidate, or I'd be up and then have a mistake. But starting P4, it was okay. I still got to work on my starts. That race start was horrendous. I think I wound up from P4 to 8th right off the start, so I definitely need to work on that. Got a little worried there going into the first turn. I got kind of sandwiched in the middle of 2 drivers. But thankfully I came out clean and just drove my race. And under the safety car, Jeff came on and said, I was going to go soft to hard. He said mediums at lap 12, so I was like, all right, I can do that. Then I just kept driving, and I had a little pace on P3, so I just kept going, and I think he was making mistakes here and there. I was just getting good traction out of the hairpin, which is usual for me, and then just keeping it penalty free, which is what I'm really happy about. I think I only got maybe 1 or 2 warning. I think maybe just 1, but that's the main goal when you're racing around COTA, is just not get those penalties. And getting on the podium, another one, I'll take it.
I'm gonna interject here quickly, Lane, and ask Matt a personal question, just because of some recent light that's come up. How do you feel now knowing that Honda actually cheated?
Did you turn it on?
He turned it back on.
Oh.
Oh, did he really?
Oh.
Yeah, he's just openly admitted it.
Yeah, he said he was worried about running into somebody and ruining theirs.
I gave him a massive rap for that. Oh well. Never mind. Oh well, a W's a W, I suppose. So.
I was gonna ask personally. I was gonna ask Stu, did you feel like at any given chance you might have a chance of a race win with Honda turning his race along off? But now I rescind that ever thinking of that question.
Oh
well, I thought after qualifying that I might have a shot here. I assume that's probably when Andrew had it off, or it was for qualifying. But yeah, interesting. Turned it back on. Well, you know, it's the way she goes.
I guess that makes my pace feel a little better because
yeah,
I was that close. I thought he was no racing line, so I guess it's kind of a feather in my cap.
But, there you go. Well, it isn't against the regulations. He's done nothing wrong, so
no.
W's a W. So
it's broken our trust.
But Michael,
any rules, but he broke her heart.
Michael, anything to ask Matthew?
Yeah, I'll just ask real quickly. Seemed, especially in the first stint, you had a little bit of trouble getting through some of those cars that I think pretty easily had the pace advantage over. So I know you did talk a little bit about before the race putting more wing in the car. Do you think you overcompensated a little bit and just kind of ruined your straight line speed and made it your job a little bit harder tonight?
I wouldn't say. I wasn't trying to keep. It was early in the race. I didn't want to burn up my tires too much, and then also just dump all my ERS. So I was trying to be conservative while keeping up, and then just give it up my all on the second stint. And thankfully, I got kind of an overcut going later and get on the medium, so that worked out for me. But I just didn't want to push anything too soon. I was just happy to kind of ride along.
And that patience paid off with a second place finish. So, an incredible performance from you, Matthew. A very mature, patient, and well-controlled drive. Well done, mate. That's a superb second.
Thank you.
And I don't think Andrew joined us, has he, in the commentary box?
Yeah, no.
He better not.
He'll be too scared to now.
He messaged me and let me know no interviews for him tonight, so
I
think we could wrap it up.
Well, I think that will end round 19 of this America's Sunday Championship here on Transnation Esports. Next week, we go to Mexico City. Oh boy, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, the worst COTA, basically.
Named after the previous winner of a Mexican driver that won the Grand Prix.
The two Rodriguez brothers, Pedro and Ricardo. Pedro was the more successful one, and the only other Mexican Grand Prix winner other than now recently Sergio Perez, giving their win tally, increasing it to 3 now. But it is a racetrack that I personally despise, and I'm putting that lightly, to be quite frank.
I think you'll unanimously met with agreements on that one.
Honestly, I have such a passionate hatred of one particular part of that racetrack. And it's probably the part you aren't expecting either, but I'll discuss that next week. Maybe. You'll have to wait and see. But tune in next week as we go a bit further south to Mexico City for the Mexican Grand Prix at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Until then, I've been the Smeg. My co-commentators, once again, Michael and Brett, thank you for joining me in the commentary box, and we'll see you all next week. Good night.
Jump on the borders, bye.